mean, the wake-up call had come from the scoreboard and the fact that the opposition had played some pretty good footy. You know, it's not all on us, but they'd played some pretty good footy. They'd made it difficult for us to move the ball. We hadn't defended particularly well. We got outworked. We were poor in the contest, and you know, all my job is to hold the mirror up to the boys and let them know exactly what's gone on, to challenge them and to give them the roadmap to get out of it.
You talked about a pall over the club.
Yep.
Is that been lifted now after a result and a performance like that in the second half?
No, and it's going to be there until. I mean, if we have a good performance, well, then apparently it gets lifted, and if you have a poor performance or even a poor quarter, then it comes back in. As I said, it's not something that we're introducing to the conversation, but it's you'd be ignorant to not acknowledge that it's there, and yeah, there's a fair bit of expectation around us. Now people are forgetting that we've played some pretty good footy through the first 9 weeks of the year now, and it hasn't been all bad, but it seems to be lumped that it's that we're either really poor or really good. The fact is it's always somewhere in between, but yeah, we've played some good footy. We want to see more of that.
So if that's the case, if it's sort of always lingering, you must have a pretty special group of players to be able to deal with that week-to-week pressure then.
Yeah, see, I think we have got a special group of players, and I think that because I have a very high opinion of the playing group and the consistency of effort on the whole that we've seen. But that doesn't mean that they're perfect. It doesn't mean that we can't improve. It doesn't mean that we can't develop through these experiences. But their willingness to learn and their willingness to work has been pretty good. And we're not the best, we're not the worst, but right now we're middling, and we need to continue to find our best, and that's going to take a fair bit of work.
James H, do we have confirmation on how long he's out for?
I'm told a month, and it may be less, but he had a fairly significant depressed cheekbone. The surgery went well, and he'll be up sooner than later, we believe, from the knock itself, and then it's just a matter of picking the right time to work him back into footy.
And how likely is Matt Schoenberg to come to the side this week?
Look, Shaz has put a really good block of VFL form together. He's clearly getting a lot of the footy, and he's played in that back half, played a little bit on the wing on the weekend. But all he can continue to do is play the role that's expected of him in the manner that he's gone about it, and his opportunities have come soon enough. Is
there something in particular you're looking for from him to improve on before he gets that selection?
Yeah, all our players, we're always looking for all our players to improve, but one thing I'd say to the players, as much as I'd say to our supporters, is we pick a 22 that we think gives us the best chance of winning a game on the weekend. And if Shaz is in that, well, then he's in it.
Are you leaning towards best available player or like for like with Jack Dyche?
It's a balance. It's a balance, yeah.
You couple Bucks, the horror per se the first quarter on Saturday night now might be the catalyst for a more direct game style for the rest of the season you adopted. I know you spoke post-match about trying to unlock why that happened, and I know obviously the focus was on the winners, it should be, but have you guys spoken about trying to switch into that mindset that happened in the second half? Yeah,
I think that's probably what people forget. We played like that in round one against the Bulldogs for the most part. Our ball use in particular, our ball use was like that against Sydney early, against Geelong in round 6. For the most part of the GWS game, and then last night. So it's not an isolated occurrence, but that's our capacity to play our way more often, which is dictated not just by our own intent, but the opposition's ability to defend and to take that away from you. So we don't play in a vacuum. We've got to be able to handle what the opposition throw at us. But yeah, clearly we can do it more consistently.
Do you feel like you're close, Bucks? 4 quarters like that?
Yeah, look, we feel like our front half offence is improving. We've shifted our forward line up. We've had a look at 3 or 4 different options in regards to our tall-small balance. And we've worked hard at our connection going inside forward 50, and our accuracy has improved slightly over the last month. So there were key areas that that were letting us down, and why we weren't hitting the scoreboard quite as hard. We still haven't scored heavily. We haven't been prolific scorers, but we're still getting pretty good supply, and we're making better use of it. So it's just, that's one part of the game. But as I said, we want to be really consistent with our defensive mechanisms in our contest, and we fell down for a couple of weeks in there against Carlton and GWS in particular, and it was a response in the last 3 quarters on the weekend.
A couple of general issues rolling around in the world of footy. Where do you stand on jumper punches?
Yeah, I'm an interested observer with that. Clearly we had a bit of a melee situation that wasn't, that didn't flare up too much in the last sort of 30 seconds of the game on the weekend. And if jumper punching was off the agenda, I think that would have looked a little different. It probably wouldn't have been as willing as it ended up becoming. Might have been more wrestling and less sort of less shoving. I like I think it's there in the MRP, the idea of what is intentional and what is not. If you've got a handful of jumper, is it not intentional anymore? I think, or if it's a body punch, what sort of level of contact do you need?
Would you like to see clarity on the issue?
Oh, absolutely. I think the AFL in the process of doing that. I'm in the camp that, it's a cheap shot. A punch is a cheap shot, so remove the cheap shots from the game.
Taylor Adams has been one of the most consistent players in the whole league this year. What do you credit with taking that next step to an elite level, and just how good can he be?
Yeah, it's mainly maturity. I mean, Taylor's still a young man, 23 years old, 23, 24, still understanding how he can best impact a game of footy and handle different circumstances within it. His leadership's been first class, his work rate's high. He's impacted games as a midfielder as much as anyone in our side. He's still a young man, and he's really driven. He wants to find out how good he can be. He's got a bit of an edge to him as well, which we love. So we want him to continue to see him blossom in his footy career.
Nathan, given there's been much talked about that a lot of the times this year, the bottom sides are beating the top sides. This week, I know you're certainly not in the top 8 yet, but Melbourne team playing at the MCG against the bottom side, how important is to back up and win?
I think most esteemed judges of the game are saying that you can't be 5% off against any opposition at any time. So not any less than 95% is not going to get you the win. So Brisbane have they're 2 wins less than us on the ladder, but clearly, Dane Beams is back in. They've got quite a young group, but they're well coached, and you can see in their games they've had elements where, with a little bit more luck one way or another, they can hit the scoreboard pretty hard. So, we're under no illusions. It's probably as much about us as it is about any of our opposition, wherever they sit. But we're still working to see that consistent football played against all comers, and that's our main focus and our main challenge coming up against any team at any time.
Do you care about the bounce?
No, not really. I mean, I used to.
Why not anymore?
Well, because it's really not that important. It's really not that important. I mean, I like the idea of if you've got an umpire that can bounce the ball well then do that. If you haven't got umpires that can bounce the ball well, or it's impacting on their ability to umpire for a period of time, which I know is the latest consideration, well then just throw it up.
As a player then, what did you prefer?
Oh, the bounce just adds another element of variability to it. And there's a bit of craft in that. And how do you handle a good one, a bad one? I mean, boundary throw-ins don't go to the identical spot every time either. So, but when a ball up goes up, and it's pretty hard to. There's still variability in how high it goes. So there's still a little bit of craft in that, but it takes a little bit. It takes more of it away. So it's just we can make the game as vanilla as you like with our rules. We can take element of chance out of things if we really wish to. And the third man up rule, that adjustment has made it, it's just brought it back, that ruck contest back to a one-on-one battle, which I've enjoyed. And it's less grey, even though there was a little bit of grey area in those first couple of rounds. But any way that we can simplify the game for the viewers and for the officiating umpires, well then that's a good thing.
I think Tim Watson might have mentioned that she's commented that coaches in their 5th and 6th and 7th year get more and more experience, more and more knowledge. Do you feel over the last few months and weeks that you're getting better as a coach throughout this year and learning a lot?
Yeah, I'd agree that the more you do something, the better you can get at it. It's still a matter of your mindset and whether you've got an open enough mind to take those learnings and the lessons on board. Players, coaches, journalists.
How many votes do you give to Tom Mitchell?
That's why they get mixed in, mate. Good try. I thought he played an exceptional game. I don't need to add any more to that. It's done.